Hey, you guys, thank you so much for joining me for yet another session of the Build Your Craft and Career Summit. I've got an incredible woman here, Jenny McCarthy, who has done so many amazing things in her life. So Jenny, thanks so much for joining me today to talk a little bit about your wild ride in the construction trades.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you're out, you're Boston, right? In the East Coast. Boston. I'm not saying it correctly. And you have a very interesting story. As a very young lady, you originally got into the trades by learning how to do wallpaper. So can you tell us that sort of initial way that you got into the trades, and then we will eventually talk about like what you do now.
Okay. I had graduated high school and I did odd jobs and everything else like that. And one of them being I was puttying nail holes on a rainy Sunday afternoon with my dad, and I heard him talking to his fellow teacher about sending his son to this wallpapering school. So when we were leaving, I said, what about me? And he's like, are you kidding? Yes, I would like that. So he helped me get the student loans and everything. So off I went for 10 weeks to this wallpapering school. I saw grown men cry. I felt like crying.
Really?
I did.
Meaning because it was just difficult, like it was difficult, or?
It was the stress and everything, because the way that this man ran it, it was the only accredited one at the time.
Wow.
And he wanted his reputation to be top notch. When you graduated from that school, it was the equivalent of about 20 years experience.
So it was intense.
Oh, it was very intense. So when I graduated from there, my dad, who taught history, he also painted on the side. So we kind of teamed up together.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, when I was a kid, he always used to stuff my hair up in a baseball cap, and I was shutter girl out in the driveway when he was painting exteriors, So now here he is, he's adjusting himself to, well, maybe people do want women on the jobs, because it was kind of that.
Oh, you mean he was kind of hiding the fact that you were a girl on the job?
Absolutely.
So
yes.
This was really oh wow.
Oh my God. So, we had to break the ice with my dad, but he actually did. And we worked hand in hand, and he saw that women kind of
really good.
that woman being in their house, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was really beneficial and eye-opening for him. But to his credit, he always told me, Jenny, you can always do, what you put your mind to.
Yeah.
So I also had that balancing act of it. So over the years, I think it was about 10 years, wallpapering was the bomb. It was amazing. Wow. And it really afforded me a really good income and everything else like that. And they kept kind of doing innovative things with it. I was wallpapering ceilings.
I was like, what's an example of an innovative thing with wallpapering?
Yes, ceilings. That was interesting. And then how to do these long runs with them. My brother Garrett is a muralist, and we did this. It was almost, it was like 2-story foyer for this house down at the Cape Cod, Mass. And he had done two 54-inch panels of wallpaper, and we had to hang them on this arched ceiling in this foyer. And it was all bids and everything. So we're like, sure, we can do that. And we went up there with push brooms after kind of rolling the adhesive on there. And I thought it was going to be the toughest job I ever did, we were in and out of there in an hour and a half. So it was really cool. So it did throw us some challenges, but I absolutely at the time loved wallpapering. It makes you think,
Is it, so explain to us, like those of us that don't know, I mean, I'm about to do my back wall, believe it or not,
cool.
With kind of like a black and white geometric pattern, but I don't imagine that this is going to be that tough, because it's a very small, basically square.
Yes.
What's like the most difficult thing about wallpapering? Like when you say it's it's quite difficult, and like you have to really think about it, like is it the layout? Is it matching patterns? Is it the application? Is it all of that?
Well, and it's funny because I haven't hung it in a while, but they have changed the way that you apply it. Believe it or not, before it used to be the best way was put a coat of oil-based primer on your walls, no matter what. Gave you the best, holding strength. And I used to use border paste on all the seams, up at the ceiling line, everything else like that. They're like, no, you can't do that anymore. They want you to have a latex primer underneath it. They don't want you to use the border paste. And another thing is, it is a little bit difficult because not everybody has, plumbing level walls, rooms, whatever.
Right.
So you go to hang a plaid, it's an absolute nightmare. Or a stripe, you're gonna get that pie wedge in the corner. There's ways to cheat it.
Yeah.
And you can use your,
Yeah.
what's pleasing to the eye over
Right.
what's
Yeah.
structural. Kind of thing.
That's actually interesting you say that, because I do the same thing with moldings, and I never would have thought about it, but it's exactly the same. Like,
Yes.
sometimes, not even sometimes, a lot of the times, probably 60% of the times, your cabinets are level, right? Completely level.
Yes.
Because they need to be for countertops and stuff, but your uppers are level, but your moldings are not typically, even your side scribes, your toe kicks,
Yes.
a whole bunch of things, because you're basically cheating to make it look level
Look.
to
Yes.
the eye, which is more important than it actually being level. Because if your ceiling's off by an inch, it looks horrible. And
Yes.
the reveals are very different, like side to side. So it's kind of, I do the same thing with cabinetry. I'm already thinking ahead of like, how can I cheat this to make it look level and plumb? I mean, some things actually have to be level, because stuff will roll off of them.
Yeah.
But that's interesting to think about wallpaper the same way. I would imagine, like, I would have started from the center of the room and then out, so that I can cheat on the edges, but I'm not sure if that's correct or not.
And this is what I always tell people too, is when you get there in the morning, attack your most difficult wall first.
Oh my God. So, I do the same thing. That's so funny. Yeah, the thing when you're fresh and you're not frustrated and it's cool and it's not hot and nothing's broken yet and nobody's do the thing.
Fill that can of paint behind the piano. Yes.
Yeah.
So those are the rooms that I kind of like, a living room with a fireplace. I'll start in the middle there and kind of try and balance out my seams. And it doesn't matter if there's a pattern or not. You're still going to see seams on some paper, so you want that balance. Another thing to think about is that the person coming behind you, and we always thought about that. I used to sign my name on the walls all the time, with my dogs and everything's name on there. But also, if it's not me coming behind, who's in 10 years coming behind me to strip that wallpaper off? And if you do the right steps for prep work, because my dad always said, the job is 90% prep work, they have a much easier time of it. And I've come to know that I've kept my customers for 30 plus years. And even going to go paint the walls and they want me to strip the wallpaper.
Yeah.
God, I did that, but it's
because now you can get it off easier.
Yes. And there's less.
We all know what it's like trying to get oh man, I've done so many rental properties. Oh my God, the wallpaper, like almost 90% I won't even try anymore. Right. Well, no, I'm not doing it, but because it's just so hard to get it off. Yeah. Okay. So you had a fabulous career and you made good money doing that. Like you were able to support yourself. Did you go to college, or were you able to actually support yourself without going to college with that?
Well, it was something that just really afforded me to get my own house and get the things that I wanted to. I had the opportunity to go to the local college, Springfield College, because my mom worked there as a secretary. But I found that I really enjoyed owning my own business. You can't put a price tag on that. So I stuck it out with that. Then I started a moving company about 10 years ago with my ex and a few other things. But anyway, the wallpapering was the center of the launching point. Yeah.
And that was financially stable, because that's one of the things I'm trying to get across with the summit, with the show, is just very few people realize how financially successful you can be in the trades, right, as women, and how you can create your own financial stability. They think it's the opposite, but actually it's not, right? So I try to always like showcase the money part of it. Like, no, you can make very good money and be in control and buy a house and support yourself, right?
Exactly. And if you excuse me, another part of it that I learned is customer service is just so important.
Right.
I've kept these customers for 30 plus years because they know I'm not trying to retire off of them. I'm going to do my level best to give them the highest quality, no matter what your income that you're hiring me for.
Right.
And they will always come back to you. They're like, Jenny, I got to do this. And they know I'm not going to come in and rake them over the coals, kind of thing. So, That's
Yeah, that's
important.
fabulous. That's great.
Mhm.
Well, it sounds actually really fun. I would have never thought of wallpapering. But I would imagine just all the different colors and textures and patterns and locations, like lots of variety, lots of always interesting things. Like, how am I going to solve that problem? How am I going to make this kind of crappy wall look fantastic, right? I would
Yes,
imagine it's very visually satisfying because
it
there's
is.
lots of before and afters, which is why I love
3D.
kitchens, right? Crappy,
Yes.
crappy space, beautiful kitchen. Crappy space, beautiful kitchen.
Before, after, before,
Yeah,
after.
before, after. Yeah, I love that. I couldn't even have a job if I didn't have before and after, to be honest.
Thank you. Yeah, it's instant gratification when you're done. Yeah.
Instant gratification. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of your first trade, your first part of it. And then you transition to becoming a painter. And so tell me a little bit more about that. Like what made you want to do that? What do you like about it? Was it more financially profitable than wallpapering, or was it kind of the same? You just basically wallpapering kind of died out and you started painting more, like kind of tell us about that company.
That's pretty much that in a nutshell. Was it the popularity of it had started to die down. And I had been working with my dad on projects and everything. And my gosh, that guy could paint, we used to just watch him as kids instead of TV, hey, did you
Yeah.
watch the paint
So
dry
he was a
today?
good mentor for you to watch. Like,
Oh my gosh, yeah. And so I wanted to learn more about it and also be finely tuned. And it took a while because he used to
yeah.
call me goopy all the time, but I learned it and I absorbed it by doing, and then I owned it. And as he stepped back in his career, I took the ball and pretty much ran with it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed painting. I did. It's therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's also relaxing. But again, the key to it is the prep work, 90%. You do all that, you look like you're golden. Buy the right brushes, everything, right rollers.
Yep.
And it's not that much of an investment for overhead. Get the highest quality that you can, and it'll make you look like a rock star at the end of the job. Yeah.
And what's your favorite brush? I hope it's the same as mine.
It's the Benjamin Moore 2-inch sash brush. That's what I
Okay,
really
so mine's Purdy.
Okay, see, yes.
Inch and a half angled. It's probably very similar.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes. I think you and I could probably paint blindfolded at this point.
Probably. I can edge band the hell out of a room. Let me tell you. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So like, what was a day in the life of a painter? Because I think there's certain careers personally, like in the trades, that I think women would do exceptionally well at. I think they do well at everything, but I think painting, electrical, there's certain things where just a woman's eye for detail and patience and are just even more suited to. So that, and it's very easy to get into with painting, right?
Yes,
And so you tell us a little bit about like, what was that like? Like, how many were you doing residential? Were you doing commercial? Like, how many houses a week did you do? Were you doing whole house? Were you doing single room? Like, kind of tell us about that.
My favorite customers were the older ones. They just had that old school mentality that if you came into their house, it was welcome.
Yeah.
And I'd get there on a lot of jobs and there'd be a cup of coffee waiting for me because they would ask me, what do you want? Cream or sugar, and that kind of thing. Some people would make you sit down and have breakfast with them before you start. And you just
or lunch.
Yep. Yes, yes. And I preferred residential over commercial. And it's more detailed, more involved, moving furniture around, dealing with different personalities and their greatest fears and their sense of humor. A lot of them did have a great sense of humor. So I did prefer the residential. I did more of that. I tried to keep it between 30, 40 hours a week. If I wanted the work at that time, I could have worked 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I think that with COVID and everything, with people just staring at their walls, being stuck in for a great amount of time, they definitely decided I need to change my environment. And it, I think, blew the doors off of also the DIY end of things. And you will hear my dog Dunny barking in the background.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh my God.
I have a cat behind me, so no worries.
Oh, cool. We had a bobcat walk by the window in the office this morning, so that set things off in a fine pace. Yeah. But I really like the older couples to work for, or older women or older men, this type of thing. But that wasn't my whole kind of spectrum, but they were the majority of it. Because once you do a great job for somebody like that,
they tell everybody.
Oh my God, they pass you around like
they have a huge paper. Most people don't realize. I mean, you think about it, if it's like, it's your grandparents, you're like, oh, it's my grandparents, like whatever, right? They use the same guy. Like when you think about it as a younger person, you're like, yeah, if you're that person's contract, if you're the contractor, it's a great niche to go after is older people. Yes, they're fairly picky. Yes, you might have to, it might take a little longer to get them to move their car and move this and move that. But once you're in that network, they're enormous referral networks, right? They're like affiliates for you, basically.
Totally, whether it's their family, extended family, or their churches, or
children, their neighbors, their church, their coworkers, everybody, they will tell about you. Yeah,
absolutely. So it takes care of a lot of your advertising. You don't have those
marketing. Yeah.
Plus, it makes you feel good, you know.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. No, I think of like my parents, who's, my mom and dad are both 79 and 82. And they've had the same, I mean, I'm like, Mom, I can just paint that for you, or I can put that light up, or I can, I can do all this stuff. No. We love Paul, right? They have Paul come over and he's there all day and he's probably actually working for 40 minutes, right? But they like to talk to him and he's, he's getting.
We love Paul.
Yeah. We love Paul. I mean, so for them, I totally understand because they've been using him for like 12 years. And literally, I would have done all that for them for free, but they like the experience. They love him. They love supporting him and his family. Like I can totally see that's a very reciprocal relationship, right? And and of course, Paul does everybody's handiwork in the entire complex,
word of mouth.
Entire neighborhood they live in, right? Probably 30 homes. He knows everybody. So I think it's a very good tip if you're a young lady starting a business. Consider finding someone a little bit older and doing a great job for them, and you'll get a ton of referrals just very, very naturally, very quickly too.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. So that's your painting company. So now let's talk about, kind of one of the most exciting things, which is one, you've been featured in Handyman magazine, right? Handyman.com and the magazine. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that and how this organization is really pro women and helping women, and they really actually do things to help you. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with handyman.com and how you suggest that other women actually approach them and become a partnership with them? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's funny, my avenue in meeting them and getting to know them, I had built this, I took a home building course and I built this garage for my mom / apartment. And in doing so, I found that sheetrocking and putting plywood up was an absolute nightmare. So I'm obsessive about things sometimes, and dog with a bone. I kept fiddling around with things and I came up with an idea of how to kind of make things simple for hanging panels or whatever. So I had the working prototype. I sent some off to Family Handyman editors. Yeah. And they actually got back to me. And they invited me to be part of the 11s, which I was truly honored to do so. It was a great interview. I loved working with them. They also put me in their future magazine, and it came out in March, a little article about, I was in the section of tools that they like, and they actually put my little tool stud huggers in there. So again, it was an opportunity where they really stood behind what they said they were going to do, and they helped me out big time. I cannot say enough positive things about them. I enjoy working with them. I'm hoping to do, maybe if I continue with different applications for this tool that I learn about, I would like to keep the connection going with them.
Yeah.
But as far as a company that really stands behind what they say, they are the ones.
That's awesome. So that's another tip, ladies. If you're watching this and you either have a product you want to sell, which we're going to talk about hers, or just you would like to share your business, share what you're doing. It sounds like they're very open to truly supporting women in the trades and giving them actual press, actually talking about them, right? Not just lip service. Yes. So we will do a link to them inside of the show notes for this episode. And I'm thrilled to hear there's a larger organization that's really supporting women. So let's talk about this exciting product though. Let's talk about the Stud Hugger. So ladies, she invented a product, an incredible product that God knows I wish I'd had 35 years ago.
Well, thank you.
I'm going to immediately buy one. And no, I'm not hanging sheetrock anymore or plywood. I just think it's an incredible tool. I'm already thinking of it as a Christmas gift for like a bunch of contractors I know who are still working in the trades.
Nice.
And even my drywall guy, I'm going to talk to him about it. But so it's called a Stud Hugger. So why don't you show us what it looks like? And it basically holds a sheet of plywood or a sheet of drywall temporarily on the stud so that you don't literally have to hold it and screw it in. So let's do like a little miniature demo like you showed me earlier.
Okay. So especially if you're working alone, it's a nightmare trying to hang it.
Yes.
So I had this idea where you wouldn't need nails or screws to put something on that stud because you don't have 3 or 4 arms with you. So the way that this is designed, you've got 2 sharp areas that chisel their way on the outside of the stud.
Yeah, like wedges it.
Exactly. So, and then there's a shelf here so that when you approach the wall, you can rest it here.
Yeah.
A lot of times you're working by yourself. Yes. You're in the middle of that sheet. And when you're approaching the wall, even if you want to screw that in, you can't see if you're plumb and level on that, that last stud that you've got to have that edge directly in the center of an 1.5 inch wide stud.
Right.
So you rest it on this, after you hammer in one.
Slide it a little bit back and forth. Yep.
Yes. And so it's holding up the weight for you. You can adjust your sheets with it. Then you can screw it in. And then once you are done fastening your sheet, you tap the tail and it yanks itself out.
I just love that. And you just pop it off. That's just brilliant.
And the reason I came up with this part of it is we used to have a little bit of a nail head on the back of this. So you could take a hammer and just go like that.
Yank it off.
Well, when I was fixing up my mom's house, I started stripping the roof, and half the house had 8 layers of shingles on it. It was like this deep, and the other half had 4. So it looked like a swayback horse. So I begged friends to get up there and help me with it. And I never forgot the angled piece of the roof shovel. So when I was trying to figure out how the heck am I going to get off, it just boom like that. So that's what I was meant to do, that god awful job. So
I love it. Put that back up here. I want to get a cute video of this.
Right there.
That's so great. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. Yeah, we might have you be a sponsor of our show.
Yes, I would do that.
I love it. I love this product. I mean, I love that it's small, it's simple, and it freaking solves a perfect problem perfectly. Nothing extra, not heavy, not expensive, like perfectly solved.
No frills. Yes.
Yeah, I love it. And it's small. You keep them in your bag, keep them in your pocket, and you just pop them on, pop them off. I mean, for single person doing work, I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I've been lucky enough to not have any injuries in the trades. I don't know how tall you are, but I'm 5'3". I'm heavier now, but I was always like 110 pounds. So, okay, there you go. You look taller on camera, but I always needed, I always really careful of leverage and positioning, right? So that I never got injuries. And this would have been a perfect product to make sure you never get injured. I can think generals in the trades. There's just so many applications for that. So I love you sharing it with us. And I love your cute little, Quasimodo dude in the background. That's cute. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so how can women get this? I assume you have a website, like people can buy this direct from you, or like how do they get them? How do we get a stud?
If you go to studhugger.com, we have the tools in this really kind of neat
Perfect.
package.
Hair. Yep.
And if you buy one, you get your bump out stick out with it. Have you hugged your stud today is my tagline.
I love it.
And
Yes.
also we're going to be bringing forth the t-shirts.
Okay.
With our little guy, and they've got the SH on the sleeves.
Right, there you go.
When people wear them, they say it reminds them of being a superhero. And I always say stud hugger, SH, superhero. Coincidence? I think not.
Yes.
And
and then the back that shows you how to use
on the back of it. It legitimizes you wearing this shirt. You know what I mean?
Right,
have you hugged your stud today? And then you can go like this.
Exactly.
And then we also have the hats. And we have the travel mugs that we're bringing forward too. So we're also going to line up an email list, and it would just be awesome to get this e-commerce part of things going.
Yeah, awesome.
Well,
congratulations on creating an incredible product. I mean, and actually getting it done, manufactured. I mean, that's a huge uphill climb, I'm imagining. And we'd love to maybe have you come back on the show after the summit, and maybe you can teach a little workshop on like how you did that. Like, how'd you create a product that solved a problem? How'd you get it made? Like, I can imagine.
I would love to.
There's probably some other women that have ideas that just have no way of knowing how to implement that.
And that's the thing. If you're on a job or you're thinking about something, it is something that we all have in us, I believe innately, to try and figure out a better mousetrap, an easier way to do things.
Yeah, exactly. So you could be our mentor on how to make that actually happen, right? So we'd love to have you back.
Sure.
Well, this has been a delight. It's been so great to meet you. And I'm so thrilled that you have had such a positive, career in the trades. It's really supported you, your family. And I think other women will be very, very inspired by you. And we just love that little product. So I think it's fabulous.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I really, really enjoyed this. Yes.
Awesome. Thanks.